Welcome to Like a Bomb, a podcast about powerful women from the past and present.
Not fragile like a flower.
Fragile like a bomb. Welcome to episode 14. I'm Bailey.
I'm Jill, her mom, and I didn't call for the intro in.
This
Yay!
time. It is January 20th. It's
Groundhog
Inauguration Day.
Yeah, and Groundhog Day is very soon. We get to find out if there's a shadow or not.
We're deep in winter.
Yeah, I'm hoping for snow days.
I'm hoping not for snow days, and I hate it being right just above freezing.
I'm looking forward to it because I keep thinking if we get a snow day for the county in which I work for, I may not even have snow, so life might be great over here. And I could just be doing whatever, and they're all with snow.
I don't get snow days. I have to use PTO.
Yeah, I get snow days, but we technically have to work on those days now since COVID. We have to work remotely.
Dumb.
Yeah, they've ruined snow days.
They did now because it's like, oh, severe weather or this. Students are now remote. No. If it's severe weather, you have a chance of losing power and other stress. Don't make them have to learn that day.
No, the kids aren't remote. We are.
Here,
Oh, well.
on severe weather days or snow days, they still put the kids remote.
Sometimes they do, but generally, because of the idea, like you said, you can lose power and then you can't be remote, and it's silly. But I don't get a snow day no matter what. And I probably won't even get a snow day because even if it does snow there, it probably won't snow here because I live an hour from where I work.
Fun thing.
I'm crazy.
But yes, today will be extra stressful because we officially now have a Cheeto Puff again as our president.
Yeah, I saw something that was like a Happy Meal or something, and you glanced at it. I was like, oh, what? That's a bad picture. Oh my gosh, it's actually like a burger and fries and some other things, all configured to look like, oh wow.
That's bad.
It was a bad optical illusion. Oh, I completely forgot to show your sister while she was here, and you weren't here. So, do you know what the Magic Pictures books are? Did you ever know what they were? Or what is that even what they're called? Okay, I'm going to take my headphones off for a second because I forgot about that.
Okay, I get to see magic books now. I guess that'll make today a little better.
The Magic Eye! Magic Eye! Hold on.
This. Show me. Maybe? No? What on earth is this?
Do you not know what that is?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I was a horrible mother. Hey, you look at these things. Okay, I can't usually see them. So
the optical illusions?
No, it's a hidden picture.
Oh.
So like you stare at it, and then after I think it's like 5 seconds, you're supposed to stare at it, and then the picture shows up. Like the one that has seagulls is probably like a sailboat or something. And I've been like, I saw one at a thrift store years ago that was like a big one in a frame, and I was like, oh, I should have bought that, but where am I going to put that? I don't even know where the dolly is going to go. I think I'm going to reframe it and put it. Where did I figure I was going to put it? I'm going to reframe it. Oh, I figured something out the other day, and I don't remember what it was. Anyhow, these are so cool. If you were my age, you know what the Magic Eye is. If you've ever seen Mallrats, and you have seen the guy just standing there staring at it, and the kid walk up, and he's like, it's a schooner, and he looks and goes, it's a sailboat. You probably bad words. But
I've seen it, but I don't remember the movie.
Well, again, I'm a horrible parent. You should know these things better. Dogma he just got the rights back to Dogma, and that's going to be re-released, and there may be more sequels, and yay!
Good. Dogma is good. I remember enjoying that a lot.
Harvey Weinstein was refusing to release the rights, and after many, many court battles, Kevin Smith just got the rights back. So,
good.
Yes, I'm very excited about that because I think the DVD I own is like the cover's like possibly in a different language.
I don't know. I've been trying to find it throughout college and I couldn't find Dogma.
Yeah, that one's hard because of the rights, but he's re-releasing it this year coming up.
So I guess that's our rec for today because we were trying to do recs now and then in Dogma.
I mean, Kevin Smith movies. Just start at the beginning. Mallrats and well, Clerks is the first one, then Mallrats, but there's kind of like if you look at the storyline, there's like a continuation of the story between like it's a whole View Askew universe kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, good movies. You do have to have a brain to follow along and know the vocabulary. And Clerks is in black and white. So if you're simple minded and can't just do black and white, because I'm sorry, I remember Bimmer going, it's black and white. I'm not watching this.
I'm not surprised by that.
Okay. But they're really good movies. But the magic I have a book. Why did I even bring this?
You were
The
talking about
optical
optical
illusion
illusions
of Donald Trump.
The
Okay.
Cheeto Puff.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Well,
Yep.
I meant
This
to bring
will be
this up.
interesting. If you are a woman, a person of color, or queer, or many other things of a minority, which him and his administration are against, you're probably stressing the next few weeks, few months. Today's not really a great day.
Well, hopefully it ends up better than we're all imagining.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Hopeful.
Especially since, yeah, we almost had a government shutdown because Elon Musk is helping and Trump is listening to him. I don't get it, and I'm just gonna ignore it.
Well,
we're gonna talk about women and not poophead men. So, new year, same problems.
But, you know, there's always a silver lining to all dark clouds. I bought that on a mug the other day. I'm going to give it to a friend who just found out she has cancer. I'm going to get a little succulent to put it in there for her.
Oh, boy.
So hopefully I do that before you hear this episode. Because I know me, it's very possible it still is sitting in my house without a succulent in it.
This is just dumb, though. Yeah, I mean, you're usually the only one who listens to the new episodes, and then it's like weeks later until someone else listens.
I think I know she's been listening. And I was supposed to have coffee with my friend Christine. I know she was getting bogged down with work and hadn't been able to listen to a couple episodes. She was a couple episodes
I know some friends have it downloaded, or some people just aren't podcast people.
Yeah, so, but
we have an Instagram.
And I'm really going to make those YouTube videos. Not YouTube.
I mean, we just need to get good at the social medias, and I don't have the patience for that. Or the mental capacity, because I'm only just now starting ADHD meds, and they're not stimulant ones.
I'm an old lady. I need to get my students to just be like, how do I do this? Guys, just show me. Because they would do it, but then that's also scary because they are 8th graders. They're
barely within the range of 13 that's deemed appropriate for our PG-13-ish podcast.
Yes, some are definitely older than that.
Yes, I know. Minimum 13.
Yeah. Which you have to be to use any AI, just so you know.
What? I don't know. I hate AI.
ChatGPT and all those.
I'm so glad I was graduated and well out of college before ChatGPT became a thing because, no.
Yeah, it has age requirements. You have to be 13 or older.
Noted. Just like social media.
I actually want to do a when we do data and scatter plots, I want to have them to learn the relationship for correlations, the positive, negative, and no. I want them to have a topic and then to have their computers and everybody get different, like the same topic. Hey, get data generated from this, and see your data is all different. However, it has the same relationship because they're both. But I have to make sure that the ones that are using the computer are of 13 or older, which I think we have like one 12-year-old in 8th grade right now, but that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they skipped a year, I guess.
I think came from different countries, and there's a difference of
Yeah, some
placement,
countries have different age
different
is
placements
like Korea
when they
does, South Korea does.
going through the system and stuff. So
Fun.
yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff.
Well, you ready for my story?
Yeah.
So, warning to all those listening, you may want to skip to my mom's, possibly because I'm discussing the Me Too movement.
Oh, okay.
So we're discussing sexual assault, rape,
Yes.
all these things.
Yes.
As a general broad umbrella, because that's what the Me Too movement is.
It's about.
And I chose that specifically in reference to the Cheeto Puff that's being inaugurated and his great reputation that he has. That
Wow.
he has felonies and other convictions for
Well,
sexual
also-
assault.
Well, also, I mean, don't know if you're a Blake Lively fan or not. I have not really seen many things that she's ever done. Nothing about
No.
pants that travel or gossip people. None of those things. But she's in the huge media right now for filing against the director and actor of This Ends With Us movie.
I don't know the name.
She's married to Ryan Reynolds, so I do
I
know
know
more
that. I
about
know
her
her
life.
name.
That's why I know more about her, I guess, is because
Yes,
she's
because
married.
Ryan Reynolds is big, and you also like Ryan Reynolds a lot.
Yes. I had a student who I taught last year come in for a basketball game and go, so did you ever get Ryan Reynolds? Do we still need to work on that? And I'm like, oh my goodness, guys. But so it's also forefront in the media right now as well.
Yeah. So that's why I chose the Me Too movement for today, because it's relevant. And I don't know how the American people voted for the sexual offender, like assault. The women's doesn't care about women. But we did. And collectively, because I didn't.
Clarence Thomas was approved to the Supreme Court after Senate hearings based on the same idea.
Yes, and we do briefly touch about the other Supreme Court justice that was taken in and accepted, and let's dive into it. So yes, big warning once again, Me Too movement, sexual assault, rape, all of these things. You may want to skip to my mom's story. Don't know how long I'll be talking, so good luck.
If you sit in my class, if you've sat in my classroom anytime in the last, I don't know, year or two, forward now.
Yeah, pretty much. You're too young. But I will start off with that there is a MeTooMovement.org with resources and healing and libraries and toolkits and how Me Too changed Hollywood and what it didn't. Just kind of broad overview, and you can join up and join the movement, support survivors, and end sexual violence. So there is a Me Too movement organization that you can go to. And now, back to Wikipedia. So, #MeToo is a social movement and awareness campaign against sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and rape culture, in which women publicize their experience of sexual abuse or sexual harassment. The phrase Me Too was initially used in this context on social media in 2006 on MySpace by sexual assault survivor and activists. I don't remember how, I did not look up her first name. It is Tarana, so Tarana?
Sounds rightish.
Burke. The hashtag #MeToo was used starting in 2017 as a way to draw attention to the magnitude of the problem. Me Too is meant to empower those who have been sexually assaulted through empathy, solidarity, and strength in numbers, by visibly demonstrating how many have experienced sexual assault and harassment, especially in the workplace. So yeah, this has obviously been going on since roughly 2006, became a lot more mainstream in 2017, and it's been going on for a while. It is very much still a problem. Rape culture is a thing, and that is why, again, I'm bringing it up today, because it is becoming more prevalent. Come the election, there were men out with signs and banners saying, "Your body, my choice." That is so messed up. And we're going back into that world, and where it may be much worse. So this is my way of a little bit of rebellion, I guess, or at least acknowledgement.
Education as
Yes.
well.
So this is a long page. We're going to go a lot into it. And this really helps spread, especially when you mention Harvey Weinstein, because it says following the exposure of numerous sexual abuse allegations against him in October 2017, the movement began to spread virally as a hashtag on social media. On October 15th, 2017, American actress Alyssa Milano posted on Twitter, "If all the women who have been sexually assaulted or assaulted wrote Me Too on a status, we might give people a sense of the magnitude of the problem," saying that she got the idea from a friend. And a number of high-profile posts and responses from American celebrities such as Gwyneth Paltrow, Ashley Judd, Jennifer Lawrence, and Uma Thurman, among others, soon followed. Widespread media coverage and discussion of sexual harassment, particularly in Hollywood, led to high-profile terminations from positions held, as well as criticism and backlash. After millions of people started using the phrase and hashtag in this manner in English, the expression began to spread to dozens of other languages. The scope has become somewhat broader with this expansion, however, and Burke has more recently referred to it as an international movement for justice for marginalized people. After the hashtag MeToo went viral in late 2017, Facebook reported that almost half of its American users were friends with someone who said they have been sexually assaulted or harassed. And mind you, not everyone reports it, let alone on social media where everyone can see it. So if half of the American users were friends with someone who had the Me Too, there's a lot more, because this data is not seen and represented. And so the purpose of this was to empower women through empathy, especially young and vulnerable women. And in 2017, Alyssa Milano encouraged using the phrase as a hashtag to help reveal the extent of problems with sexual harassment and assault by showing how many people have experienced these events themselves. It therefore encourages women to speak up about their abuses, knowing they are not alone. After millions of people started using the phrase and it spread to dozens of other languages, the purpose changed and expanded, and as a result has come to mean different things to different people. Tarana Burke accepts the title of the leader of the movement, but has stated that she considers herself more of a worker. Burke has stated that this movement has grown to include both men and women of all colors and ages, as it continues to support marginalized people and marginalized communities. There have also been movements by men aimed at changing the culture through personal reflection and future action, including I did that, I have, and I will. So Me Too is grown to just general, because it was originally women. Women are not the only ones that can be sexually assaulted. So that we included men, we included everyone that is going through terrible times, terrible experiences. So there's lots of different things with media coverage and policies and laws and the awareness and empathy. So analysis of the movement often point to the prevalence of sexual violence, which has been estimated by the World Health Organization to affect 1/3 of all women worldwide. 1/3 of us. A 2017 poll by ABC News and the Washington Post also found that 54% of American women report receiving unwanted and inappropriate sexual advances, with 95% saying that such behavior usually goes unpunished. Others state that Me Too underscores the need for men to intervene when they witness demeaning behavior. Burke said that Me Too declares sexual violence sufferers are not alone and should not be ashamed. She says sexual violence is usually caused by someone that the woman knows. So people should be educated from a young age that they have the right to say no to sexual contact from any person, even after repeated solicitations from an authority or spouse and to report predatory behavior. Burke advises men to talk to each other about consent, call out demeaning behavior when they see it, and try to listen to victims when they tell their stories. It's all about education and being aware, and it's simple consent of just being hugged and other person's respect and their own bodily autonomy as a person. And a funny side note, though, one of my friends was part of a fraternity in college, like his super senior year, and so they implemented these consent forms that all the pledges had to give out if they were going to go sleep with some girl. That they had to both sign and fill out different things that they were willing to do. So that was entertaining. He shared it to us.
Well, that's interesting. Do they keep one around with them? Do they need to have it notarized?
It
Are
doesn't
they
need to
all
be
now?
notarized. It just had. They just apparently. I don't know. I don't remember. This has been. What is it? 3-4 years now.
Interesting. Well, I do know that I see a lot of things now about parents saying just because you want them to give you a hug or a kiss doesn't mean that they're comfortable with that. So please do not touch my child.
So there is small changes, even in fraternities in my college. But also, I don't know how much of that was for giggles.
I'm sure part of it was just for giggles because that
it
would
was
imply
for pledges only.
Yeah, but
it
the culture is
forward.
being there's more thought about consent from in certain things. Like animals can't consent. Like I know that sounds weird, but animals can't consent under a certain age. Your frontal lobe hasn't developed, so you can't consent. Like to certain things. Just
no, you're not developed. You're drunk. You're not you.
I mean, just like you said, a hug or stuff like that. Like I have a friend who generally, and the whole forever that we've been friends, she'll be like, "Can I hug you?" Because I'm not a huggy, touchy person. However, my students don't see that. For some strange reason, they don't see that I'm that kind of person. They're just all up in my bubble.
Yeah, and hopefully none of the students are listening. Yeah. But don't just go hug your teachers.
No, they do it in a not disrespectful. You can tell. Like,
yeah, I know.
So there is it's different. Yes.
So small little snippets of change, supposedly, even if it's just for giggles. It's consent forms. It's things like that of at least making it so you're aware.
And pausing for a second.
Yeah. And also, there's nothing unsexy about, hey, can I kiss you? That is polite. And once you've developed that relationship with someone and you know officially their boundaries, then you can just go and kiss them or hug them or other things. As far as relationships go. And so, policies and laws, there was a decent amount of things coming out with this. So Burke has stated the current purpose of the movement is to give people the resources to have access to healing, which is a lot of what the MeTooMovement.org appears to have, is lots of healing and taking those steps forward instead of just sitting back and hiding in that trauma and that experience. Healing is important to grow. And then it's to advocate for changes for laws and policies. She has highlighted goals such as processing all untested rape kits, re-examining local school policy, improving the vetting of teachers, updating sexual harassment policies. She has called for all professionals who work with children to be fingerprinted and subject to a background check before being cleared to start to work, which at least has been valid because I've had to do that.
I will say
even
COVID,
as a counselor.
COVID changed a lot of that. They lowered.
Well, this was also pre-COVID.
Yeah, after COVID, the standards.
2018. I went to be a counselor for an overnight summer camp.
Unfortunately, the standards have gone down a lot since COVID out of the need. And that means that there isn't as much vetting and security. And I'm sorry to say that, but I mean, it isn't. The standards have changed.
Yes. And there's lots of things. I don't want to glance over things, but there is so much.
There is.
Going into policies and laws and the media coverage of this. And one thing I think that's really important to touch right here is the media coverage, because they want news. They need news to be relevant. So there is it's a false report, it's this. Well, yeah. This is a widespread discussion about the best ways to stop sexual harassment and abuse for those currently being victimized at work, and as well as those who are seeking justice for the past abuse and trying to find ways in what they see as widespread culture of abuse. There's a general agreement that a lack of effective reporting options is a major factor that drives unchecked sexual misconduct in the workplace. Because false reports of sexual assault are very rare, but when they happen, they are put in the spotlight for the public to see, which gives the false impression that more reported sexual assaults are false.
Yes.
However, false reports of sexual assault account for only 2% to 10% of all reports. That's a wide range, but it's minimal. And it should be taken seriously.
I would say,
oh, she's lying.
Well, I think it's because they have to probably include, if a case goes to court and the person is found innocent, it is now could be considered a false report if they are found innocent. So I think that can skew some of the data.
That's probably true, because there's many times they could walk out with court just a slap on the wrist, and that person has committed sexual assault.
Yes, and I'm not saying that
typically it's a woman that's assaulted, but that I'm referencing most cases. But again, it could be anyone.
Yes, and that does not mean, again, there is very much, that does not mean that there aren't people who do commit, who do give negative, false, and then they, luckily that person doesn't get, convicted. That does happen, but I think that
there are many more times where the justice system is failing.
Yeah.
Much as the many times, on side note, as to why I don't like the death penalty, because many of those people are innocent.
Yeah,
and still die.
There's a lot of death penalties.
So that's a whole nother story in our own views. But yes, the false reports of sexual assault are very rare, simply put. And misconceptions about false reports are one of the reasons why women are scared to report their experiences, because they're afraid no one will believe them. That is the process they will have embarrassed and humiliated themselves, in addition to opening themselves up for retribution from the assailants. And yeah, there's a lot of reasons, and plus, in college campuses, it's also, there's alcohol involved, and they're possibly underage, and they're not going to report it because of that as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of factors, but definitely the embarrassment and humiliation of that process and being so vulnerable, which is also why Me Too is beneficial. All of these women saying this has happened to help make up for the fact that all these other women and men and other people who aren't comfortable reporting this in social media.
Yeah.
And so back to this, in the media coverage, in France, a person who makes a sexual assault harassment complaint at work is reprimanded or fired only 40% of the time, while the accused person is typically not investigated or punished. So if I accuse someone at work for sexual assault or sexual harassment, I'm more likely to get reprimanded or fired, not the person who did it to me in France.
Oh,
and I don't know how recently updated this article on Wikipedia is, and again, it's Wikipedia, but they have a little source, 43. And so in the US, a 2016 report from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission states that although 25 to 85% of women say they experience sexual assault at work, few ever report the incidents, most commonly due to fear of reprisal, or even just fear of being reprimanded. The fear of this person that's assaulting you is going to make it worse and make life worse for you.
Also, some industries, it's even there, you would be reporting on everybody you work with.
Exactly. And there's even evidence that in Japan, as few as 4% of rape victims report the crime, and the charges are dropped about half the time. And there is a discussion on the best ways to handle whisper networks or private lists of people to avoid that are shared unofficially in nearly every major institution or industry where sexual harassment is common due to power imbalances, including government, media, news, and academia. These lists have the stated purpose of warning other workers in the industry and are shared from person to person on forums and private social media groups and via spreadsheets. However, it has been
Spreadsheets.
argued that these lists can become weaponized and be used to spread unsubstantiated gossip, an opinion which has been discussed widely in the media. And sure, that's a thing, the stigma that women gossip, but also women support women, people support people. I'm going to be like, hey, be wary of this. The little whisper, whisper, hush, hush, so that it's easier for someone at work, not just to gossip. So
Yeah.
media is definitely blowing it, but yes, those people have to resort to that. Um, Defenders say the lists provide a way to warn other vulnerable people in the industry if worried about serious retribution from the abusers, especially if complaints have already been ignored. They say the lists help victims identify each other so they can speak out together and find safety in numbers. Sometimes these lists are kept for other reasons. For example, a spreadsheet from the United Kingdom called High Libido MPs, and dubbed the Spreadsheet of Shame, was created by a group of male and female parliamentary researchers and contained a list of allegations against nearly 40 Conservative MPs in the British Parliament. It also is rumored that party whips, who are in charge of getting members of the Parliament to commit to votes, maintain a black book that contains allegations against several lawmakers that can be used for blackmail. When it is claimed a well-known person's sexual misconduct was an open secret, these lists are often the source. In the wake of Me Too, several private whisper network lists have been leaked to the public. And then there's another paragraph about in India. Like, this is widespread. And I can go on. There's a couple more on media coverage, but I want to skip a little bit to the issues and social norms. In the wake of Me Too, many countries such as the US, India, France, China, Japan, Italy, and Israel have been seen discussing in the media on whether cultural norms need to be changed for sexual harassment to be eradicated. And John Lawner of Health Education England stated leaders must be made aware of common mismatches of perceptions at work to reduce incidents where one person thinks they are flirting while the other person feels like they're being demeaned or harassed. Reporter Anna North from Vox states that one way to address Me Too is to teach children the basics of sex. North states the cultural notion that women do not enjoy sex leads men to believe that a lukewarm yes is all they're ever going to get, referring to a 2017 study which found that men who believe women enjoy being forced into sex are more likely to perceive women as consenting. Then that just... I'm going to leave that as the social norms.
There definitely needs to be more education. I got more education in the time that I grew up in than you did.
I don't know. It was pretty good in my with what I had of definitely my teachers saying that women enjoy it. It's meant to be a pleasurable thing for both parties.
Well, I think that they gave us a lot more. And I don't know. They talked to us forever, for years.
I don't know. We went all over all sorts of different contraceptives and things, and I don't feel like mine was so. I mean, obviously, because it's in the South, it's pretty abstinence heavy. Of simply the most effective way, 100%, is not having it. It was
Well,
at
that's
least
scientifically
following
proven.
with, yeah, and the shame of it, and too, but also at least followed with, here's some options if you do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think education, people are assuming that parents are doing some of that education, whereas that is different culturally. I mean, societally, like caste. I mean, every country has a caste system, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
there's basic things like the stereotypical banana with condom that's not taught at every school. Some people don't know how to do that, and it's their own anatomy that they don't know how to deal with when it comes to
yeah. So, I
being
mean,
sexually active.
part of it is there need to be more education. Granted, that does not mean the education system should be taking that on. It just means that there needs to be more. I mean, the media can take on some of the education. They used to teach us about a fried egg in a pan was our brains on drugs. I mean, there's ways to go about things.
I guess, yeah.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Like the egg was your brain, and then when you put it in a frying pan and it was frying, that was your brain on drugs. I mean, it was quick, it was easy, it got the point across.
Go back to dare programs.
Dare programs that maybe don't make it look like it's fun.
No, dare definitely. I don't know. It was one of the last years of dare.
Yeah, I got a lot more dare than you did, and in a whole different kind of world.
I also freaked you out with my police little handbook of dare, and you're like, "Why do you have something with the police?"
Well, y'all also ask me like every year, hey, do we even have to do this? Can we just tell them about our dad and get out of it?
I don't remember that, but I remember almost passing out during dare.
Yeah, there was, I think it was in high school because it wasn't dare. It was just like they have to do that to every year. They give you the information. And one or both
I
of you,
remember doing my PowerPoint on ketamine.
yeah, one or both of you were like, can we just not get out of this? Can we just get out of this? It's like, we're not going to do this stuff because of our dad. Like, and I
Yeah,
was like, I don't know that we can really get you out of it for that. Go learn.
that's okay. I got an inside joke with me and Tristan because we had to look up on our PowerPoint in good old time in high school. Just go to the computer and just look up images for your drug for your project and ketamine, and somehow ketamine squids came up. So that was a
No,
joke.
we didn't have the internet to use.
I know. But yes, Tristan kept joking I was going to make ketamine squids in Minecraft, and that's my tangent of little funny things. Um, but
Sorry,
so yeah,
education.
yeah, education and the issues of social norms, and a couple of these are a little, not quite, um, definitely a little blunt, such as women being forced into it, or more, I don't know. Um, there's just a lot of things that just need to be changed, and the thing that bothers me here, the social norm of mismatched of perceptions, that's not a mismatched perception. I think that's just education and men just not understanding. That goes into a deeper problem of sometimes women are afraid to say no because men lash out. And again, stereotypically men, women. In this party, how I'm doing it, it don't go both ways, always.
Yes.
But often than not, the situation is someone is afraid to say no because A, they've experienced it, B, they just everything we've experienced in this world, C, someone they know. No cannot always work, so they have to find a way to get out. And I had a coworker who didn't understand why women weren't blunt with him, and it's like they're afraid to tell you no for a reason.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of different, and it depends on like different parts of the country, different parts of the world, different parts of, I mean, language, um, it, mental development. Like there are people who are their mental development is delayed, and so they don't necessarily understand what they're saying, and they've seen something on TV, and so they're kind of mimicking, and they don't know. And granted, that
yep,
is a whole different situation, and that is a smaller percentage of situations, but there are things like that. Like I know that there's certain students I have that when I'm talking to them, they want to hold my hand, and
mm-hmm.
they need that, and that's fine. Um, I don't think there's a line being crossed there because I know they're doing it because they need the comfort. There is a difference between somebody grabbing my hand when they're speaking to me than somebody needing it as a comfort and a constant to fiddle when they're listening.
Exactly.
So there are things that it is, there's a lot of different situations. Unfortunately, we can't address everyone at every time, but
Yes.
bringing it to light makes a difference.
Exactly. I still got a little bit more, so I'm going a little bit longer today. Specifically going into the paragraphs with the role of men. Again, I'm going to summarize most of it. I'm just going to get some highlights. But so there's been discussion of what possible roles men may have in the Me Too movement. It has been noted that 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual abuse of some sort during their lives and also often feel unable to talk about it because they're not considered. Most times you hear sexual abuse or sexual assault, you're going to picture a woman that this has occurred to. Most people do not think about men. And I have, at least one person that I was close with in college that had a severe event of sexual abuse, and I think it happened on multiple occasions. And it wasn't until we'd been hanging out for a while and all of us were just bonding over trauma, and he's like, yeah, I can tell you guys. And now most men can't. And so it was asked for some men to call out bad behavior when they see it or just spend time quietly listening. Some men have expressed a desire to keep a greater distance from women since Me Too because they do not fully understand what actions might be considered inappropriate. Part of that also comes because they think that anything will be called sexual assault, and that's
and
a whole different thing. Not willing to learn.
Yeah.
But many men express difficulty in participating in the conversation due to the fear of negative consequences, setting examples of men who have been treated negatively after sharing their thoughts about Me Too. But we jump down to the timeline and media and the impact and whatnot. There's many men that cited Me Too during this time in Hollywood, such as Terry Crews and James Van Der Beek.
Yeah, that's how you said it. James Van Der Beek.
Their own experience of harassment and abuse. They happen to big actors. It's not limited to anyone. Anyone can be mean. Anyone can this happen to. And there's one thing in specific I wanted to look at about the Me Too movement, but there were some things of like him too, of, you know, happening to men, or actually we need to protect it. This guy, he's being, this is all false. That was especially mentioned towards Brett Kavanaugh, I believe. There was a rise in the him too and all of the sexual assaultment cases that were brought against him while he was trying to be sworn in for the Supreme Court.
A point, I guess.
So there's lots of back and forth, give and take on both sides, but for the most part, Me Too, and there is a lot of every branch of anything, everything that it is touched, where people are involved, where it has happened to someone. And like, even there's the military page. We know that is unfortunately very common in the military, and it's only recently coming out and how widespread it is. And the Me Too movement ultimately comes down to this. Is this organization that started in 2006 and blew up more in 2017 on social media to spread awareness of sexual assault, and so we can all heal together and make the world a better place. And it has spread globally to every corner we possibly can with the internet, to try and make the world a better place through education and other means and healing. So that is my not as deep dive, because that we could do several episodes on this, on deep dive of the Me Too movement, at least mostly from the American perspective.
And it is to make people not feel alone.
Yes. Because make sure your voice is heard. You're not alone. And to not feel like you will face retribution for speaking out for something that should not happen in any aspect, regardless of the consequences of other things that you did at the time. So like if you were drunk and something happened, that should not be a factor held against you. Something appalling happened to you, and you should be allowed to speak about it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the culture is changing a lot. I've seen in my lifetime, it still has a long way to go, because having had the 10,000 different types of jobs that I have had, I have seen it in a variety of different forms, and I have 2 daughters, so and one is more likely to punch you in the face than the other. Granted, they're both pretty highly likely to punch you in the face.
Or I've just stood there shaking while I've been catcalled before because I didn't know how to react because I was getting gas.
Yeah, so...
Because catcall also counts in this.
It does. I had students do that to me earlier this year, like half of a class. It wasn't even my class. I was like, y'all are disgusting. And I even told them that. I said, you're disgusting. Like, it's not even ever appropriate. Not ever. appropriate. But so, and if you need to know more, there is more out there, but that's, I mean, it's been around
Big,
for a while.
broad,
Yeah.
semi-deep rundown on the Me Too movement.
Okay, well, I have something so much lighter and easier, but does kind of touch on that for 2 seconds.
Well, I needed, so now no warnings, hopefully, maybe for you. Stay
Shouldn't
tuned for
be
anyone else
any
to listen.
warnings. I was very disappointed on the amount of information I could actually find.
Well, hey, that's good because I talked for a while.
I mean, I still have, but I was like, women's fashion. Not like I'm a fashionista, because I mean, I do like TJ Maxx, but I am wearing my basic weekend uniform, which is generally a hoodie or a t-shirt and leggings, and generally a hat, because I am extremely light sensitive and I can wear a hat when I'm not at school. But fashion has changed, and it's changed depending on what part of the world you're in, based on society, cultural changes, times, what's going on in the world, those kind of things. So I'm going to start with a couple of quotes. Clothing is more than just fabrics and garments. It is a statement and a way of expression. It's about culture, social change, and the evolving role of women. So in ancient civilizations, like basically Egypt, Greece, and Rome, like noble women decorated and expressed their status with jewels and bright colors and fancy garments. Anyone outside of the nobility would dress for daily work and survival. Like, you're not wearing a fur coat if you're in the desert. You're not wearing like a sheet if you're in the tundra in the middle of winter. So it was done for what they needed it to be. Medieval period, this introduced refined forms with corsets, hoop skirts, and puffy sleeves. Noble women wore deeper colored fabrics, elaborate embroidery, and fancy headwear. Again, outside of nobility, it was a lot simpler, with more appropriate for their day-to-day lives. Again, you're not going to wear a big hoop skirt and a corset necessarily if you were milking the cows. You may have worn a corset depending on your status, which a lot of it was status based, financially, what you were able to afford. And then the Renaissance rebirth, where clothing became more artistic with intricate patterns and textiles, introducing tailored clothing, structured bodices, and intricate lace work. And then we go into the Victorian area, where virtue became a big thing now. And now we're covering everything up. Large skirts, tight waist, and high necklines. Focus of the time was respectability and virtue. Deep colored fabrics, fancy embroidery, and intricate lacework were still a thing. And they added in accessories of gloves, fans, and parasols, which, by the way, gloves were around for a while. Fans and parasols as well. However, this was where it became a more commonplace thing. So I'm going to go by decades, starting at the 1910s, just because fashion did change since the beginning of time, but I kind of lumped everything else into smaller groups. The 1910s was the introduction of the trousers and the trench coat. The trench coat became popular in World War I. Trousers made a debut around 1910, but didn't really become mainstream until later. 1913, through the women's suffrage movement, and if you don't remember what that means, that is fighting for the women's right to vote. They used symbolic colors: white, yellow, gold, purple, and green. British adapted green, white, and purple for their colors. White meaning purity, innocence, and feminine grace. White was also very cheap, much cheaper to buy. It would stand out in a crowd, and it contrasted against men's dark suits. So white is very popular for those many different reasons. Yellow was hope. Yellow roses were popular as floral badges. Gold was light and life. Purple was loyalty. Purple is also known as a royal color, so it usually associates with that. Consistency, dedication to the cause, and green was also hope. So colors were used to promote the cause by being able to be identifiable in a crowd. In the 1920s, we had our free-spirited flapper. This was, speakeasies, prohibition, craziness was happening, bob haircuts. The little black dress was introduced by Coco Chanel, and fashion became more comfortable and simplistic, more about comfort, but also elegance.
Much
1930s,
appreciated.
yeah, they became a lot shorter too.
Oh no, it was above the knee then.
Oh, it was well above the knee for some outfits.
Some of them, but most of it was just above the knee. It was the
And
scandalous.
yes, women's in the 1930s, women wearing pants and trousers increased because it became more normalized by the start of World War II. Pants made it easier for women to join the workforce, in which they had to do because men were at war, and increased women's clothing options, feeling more liberated by having the options between pants and which they called trousers repeatedly in everything I read. I'm like, they're pants. Got it. You just took the men's trouser and put them on a woman, but they're still pants. It made them feel like they had more options. But on the flip side of that, I know we should live in a society where it's so, women have the chances of dresses, skirts, pants, shorts. Like we have all of those options. Men have less options.
Yeah, they do.
Societally and culturally acceptable. So when we say we are feeling more liberated by having more options, we also have to keep in mind that men do not have those options. Granted, there is the option that they can go topless and we can't, society-wise.
At least in Western culture.
Yes, in society-wise. But we do have to keep that in mind. In the 1940s, women became more actively involved in fashion, while men weren't still at Europe fighting World War II. Form-fitting and feminine style were back as men returned from war and women returned to their more traditional domestic roles because they came back, we were kicked out of the workplace, and we had to go back home, but we still had to look pretty while we were doing it. So we kind of took our trousers, put them in the back of the closet, and we put on a fancy dress with a nice fitted waist and big skirt and pointy bras. It really was a thing. It was weird. 1950s, the hourglass figures continuing from the 1940s with the clinched waist and full-bodied styled skirts, and the pencil skirt came popular in the 1950s. The 1960s began with a sophisticated elegance. We're kind of going from that 1950s, the elegance, the hourglass, the everything is prim and proper. You are wearing a little cardigan and your dress is below the knee. And then we go into the creation of the mini skirt in the 1960s by Mary Quant. And it became a symbol of the sexual revolution. Keep in mind, if you listen to episode 1 and a couple of other ones after that, it was also the time where the introduction of the birth control pill. So in the 1960s and 70s, this is where it was, if you look back at anything, there's all the bra burning. Bras were apparently never actually burned. I don't know. I wasn't alive when this was happening. Or when I was not at a bra burning. It was considered a symbolic protest against gender inequality for constrictive garments that women only had to wear, bras and girdles and such things like that. And if you go back and look at things, the bras were nightmarish, not even getting into the girdles, which again is it was shapewear that was not comfy and generally tied onto you. In the 1970s, we got our wide-legged pants, which was just pushing at the norm, which was just, regular straight pants. We got the wrap dress, which I've never thought was a good idea just because things can come unwrapped, but that's me. Mini skirts were starting to lose favor as they were considered over-sexualizing women, meaning that it was our fault if men did something they shouldn't. And it went to the blaming of the woman based on how she was dressed. So women felt, well, then I guess I shouldn't wear that. They come back in the 90s, I think even possibly shorter. The 70s and 80s was power dressing because it increased number of women that joined the workforce because now we're just going for it. Plus, divorce was starting to become more of a thing. You were having to get the money. Again, this is all based on cultural influences. These things were happening because of the way society was changing. The 1980s, bright colors, big hair, shoulder pads. I actually have shoulder pads in my craft thing. So if I ever make anything, I can sew them in if I want them. You can look back at some of my school pictures where my hair is 10 feet tall, my shoulders look like I'm a linebacker, and I'm wearing a blazer. So because that was just the style, it was bigger and better, was the best way to go about it. 1990s grunge and punk styles. Women had the variety of choices to express themselves through fashion. We have now added every possible way we can wear our clothing at this point by the 90s, and we're experimenting with it. And punk was not mainstream, so please do not think that it was mainstream in the 90s. Grunge wasn't even completely mainstreamed. It was still not everybody, granted, everybody pretty much owned a flannel, but it wasn't like what people wasn't like.
It's not what movies and TV shows portray.
Oh no, it is. Like, go watch Reality Bites and those things, but it wasn't like what was considered appropriate unless you were of the younger generation. If you walked in with holy jeans and a flannel, they would ask you to turn around and come back. But it was giving people more options to express themselves, and it was beginning to become almost acceptable in the 90s. Still not quite acceptable. You still had to do a lot to get your hair that color, like Kool-Aid. The 21st century is considered more casual, cultural, elegant, and sustainable. I know I've seen commercials for jeans where it says, buy ours, they last a lot longer, so you're helping the planet. It also, fashion serves as a platform for activism, celebration, and empowerment. I know I made 3 shirts for your sister while she was here for Christmas that I've been meaning to do. One said, mind your own uterus. One, oh crap, now I don't remember what they all were.
Well, your birthday gift fits in the same activism and stuff.
But I know she's going to get one. I don't think this is what I think I did make the row your vote. So she got those 2 made, and there was another one. I think that one was 1692. You missed one. And I still have the one that I need to make a tote bag or something for you and for her and for myself that says, like, we are the granddaughters of the witches you didn't burn.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you read that, it's not completely just saying a witch. And granted, I'm not going to say I'm not a witch, but it's more or less saying I've said this already before, they burned women, they didn't burn witches. We're saying that we are women, and we are women that are not going to sit there and shut our mouths. Granted, if I'm in my school and you asked me what my political beliefs are, I'm going to say I don't have any. If you ask me what my religious beliefs are, I'm going to say I don't have any. Because there's a time and place for certain things that are appropriate. And part of it is legally. Also, I believe that I should not be pushing my beliefs in certain situations. I don't think I should be pushing my beliefs on anybody.
No, I didn't even respect your boundaries and let others do their own thing.
I did that with my children.
Yes.
I did not in any way push them to believe certain things religiously or politically, and let them make their decision. We
didn't even know what your affiliation was for a lot of things for the longest time because you're like, go figure out your own thing.
Yep. I wasn't going to try and make you think a certain way just because I did. Did the same thing with your dad. I didn't want you to I didn't try and tell you stories and things to turn you against him.
No turning us against him, as he would say.
Yeah, I did not. The reason that you found out that he was in a place that I was not telling you is because they told you.
He told me himself over the phone.
Yeah, they weren't very good about that. But
no,
I do think that if I have something on a shirt, I'll be honest, I really do want to. I think I did finally find my Bad Religion t-shirt.
Good.
But, and it's not the one with the cross upside down because that's too much. But like, I have not worn that into Hobby Lobby because I know there is a line Do I wear my sweatshirt that has skulls on it and my leggings that have skulls on it and all that? Absolutely. That's my weekend uniform. But I also know that there's a certain time and place. And though I know it's a band, when I walk into Hobby Lobby based on the company's mission statements, I do think that that is inappropriate. So there are lines, but fashion can be a way of speaking your mind and sharing it with others, because some people maybe didn't think about it that way until they saw it on your t-shirt or your hat or, I don't know, your tote bag. So,
Or your skirt or your pants or your jacket. All sorts of things that express yourself.
yes. So, and though I know that I cannot go to work Monday with Rainbow Liberty spikes and not have somebody come talk to me, though I really do think that that should be a norm.
I can't wear most of the clothes I would want to wear. I was joking with the VPs, like, oh yeah, just go casual. But I'm like, I can't wear most of my t-shirts. I don't feel like they'd be appropriate for work. Like, even the shirt I'm wearing now, it says Smash the Patriarchy. I work in an office with mostly men. That is not going to fly.
No, no. Well, I'm wearing lots of skulls right now and a hat from your wedding. So,
I don't think that's that bad.
no, I'll wear my skulls to school because that's fashion now. Like, that's just the norm.
Yeah.
Plus, my students believe I'm a witch. So, there's that. But there are certain places and times that it is appropriate to share your beliefs. If you think that marijuana should be legal in the whole country, that's great. But my 8th graders should not be wearing a t-shirt with that on it. Or Playboy, you're not old enough. No.
Okay, but they're in middle school. That's 100% the fashion in middle school because they're trying to act like they're grown.
I know.
And they think they are, but they're not.
Yeah, we had a student the other day, well, probably, yeah, like a week or, before break, who had a Playboy t-shirt on, and he's like, well, I don't even know what Playboy is. And then, of course, like half the kids in my room, you don't know what I know? You want to know what it is? Back off.
Oh my God.
You don't want to know. I'm like, no, he does not need to know. I don't believe that he doesn't know. But let's not be the ones who educate him on what Playboy is.
No, not at school. That's not the kind of education you're there for.
No. But yeah, and I had a kid ask me what a certain medical procedure was, just in class. She's like, what's this? And I was like, oh. And another student started to say it, and I was like, oh no, because the words you have to use to explain that, nope. And I was like, okay. And I went outside and I said, well, first off, where did this come from? She's like, oh, I heard it on, what's that medical show? Crap, what is that medical show?
I don't know.
Your sister likes it.
Dr. House?
No, it's new. It's still
Grey's
on
Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. She's like, oh, I heard on Grey's Anatomy. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is something that happens to boys at this time and da-da-da. In some cultures it happens here then. And she's like, oh, okay, just didn't know what it was. And like walked back in. And I'm like, oh, okay. You should not say those things out loud if you don't know what they are. But
at least they're comfortable with you.
Yeah. So glad. Yeah. So glad. They're so comfortable. They fart a lot too.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's room clearing sometimes, but that's okay. Yeah. So express yourself through fashion, but also be mindful of other people's right to what you're expressing yourself with. Like, you should.
Just like you don't go around cursing in schools or whatever in church, you don't go around with a shirt that also would have the curse words or whatever.
I still have that one I got from Spencer's that has flowers and really bad words on it.
I don't think I have any shirts that curse necessarily.
I should have worn that for Thanksgiving after we did the Gremlins. I know that. a
I know it is. Christmas Eve, I wore my Protect Trans People shirt, but I had this sweater over it so no one could see because
I probably didn't see. Yeah. Yeah. There also is, I saw something post that people my age should not be wearing those things. It is inappropriate. I'm
wear
like,
whatever you want.
I'm sorry. I am almost 50 years old. I still wear band t-shirts and holy tennis shoes, and I am not going to stop.
Nah,
It's,
the jeans and t-shirts just a style that lives on.
there's so many. There's like a war t-shirt I really, really want. And then there's like a NoFX one that has the Tricks bunny that I really want. Like, there's so
Put
many
it on
band
a
t-shirts.
wish list. Do the Excel Google Docs like I do and my in-law family does.
Yeah, but so many t-shirts. So many. But that is our almost February, close to my birthday.
You still got over a month.
Ugh,
Then you can see
yeah.
the thing I got you.
Yeah, it's still in the closet. I'm hoping I don't forget come my
Just
birthday.
open it soon, because I'm probably gonna forget.
Well, but then I have to hide it for their birthdays, right? Because
No,
they
you
got.
don't.
Oh,
I
that's fun.
think you having it doesn't mean anything, even if it's the same thing.
So do I save theirs for their birthdays?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I
Yes.
thought. Okay. Um. Oh, this is completely not needing to be recorded, but Grammy turned 75 this year. We need to make a plan for the summer. And Jake and Kelly, I know you probably do not listen. However, you need to mark your calendars and get your butts to the beach because she turned 75. And I bought a lot of decorations a couple years ago on clearance for 90% off at like Hobby Lobby. So we got a lot of decorations for her 75th. Come to the beach. So, with that, go do something extraordinary.